Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow is the big day. Second time around, first attempt, first approach, didn't work, and here we are on the appointed day tomorrow. There's something of a partial public holiday. I understand that some aspects of our society are not on holiday, the banks, for instance, but that's the way it is now. Are we prepared? It looks like it. Security and all of that. But the logistics that INEC initially said was part of the issues that led to a postponement, that hopefully has now been sorted out. Let me introduce my guests. And in terms of that logistics aspect, we have Alexander Orji, who is a project and logistics management expert, as well as a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
And our friend, journalist Eniton Olukotun. Well, I just gave you the full version. Usually just hear Eni Olukotun. Eniton is a journalist as well as a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much, Eni, for coming on.
It's a pleasure being
Indeed.
here.
Indeed. So, the logistics aspect. As an expert, you know where we were before, you know INEC submission, and then here we are now. Would you say you are satisfied with, from the reports, that we've surmounted this logistics hill now?
Well, thank you so much for raising up this. In truth, I think I want to first of all start by congratulating Nigerians for the way and manner we've actually handled this, that we haven't taken it beyond, or even though it's been a topic over the days, you know, on the losses, on the various effects to the lives of individuals and businesses. But however, I think INEC has shown more commitment in its rolling out and coming up with certain tabulations that we're seeing in the papers today. And that was not what we had as at last week. So this is an expose of the fact that a lot were really lacking, in the sense that INEC may not have been, 100% ready as they envisaged or made us to understand. Because, for instance now, INEC is coming out with a detailed list of all the registered voters of each in states, and then the number of PVCs that have been collected.
Indeed.
And also showing us the percentage of collections and then the uncollected PVCs. So it goes to show now that INEC has been able to give us all the tabulation figures we need and have now to be able to go into the elections well prepared and be able to ascertain and monitor the elections and also follow the same figures, because we're also looking at the number of people who will turn out, because election is about numbers.
Indeed, indeed.
So I think they've actually started on a good way by rolling out these figures and showing us some of their preparedness, and especially with the disbursement of non-sensitive materials to states. Excuse me. And then the various reports we're getting from each state now as in reception of materials, especially with the local governments all getting their materials. So it means that tomorrow morning, most of these materials, if they do leave early, should be able to get to the various units on time to be able to prepare for the would-be voters as they come in to do their cast their ballots.
Indeed, thank you for that overview. And Eni, the fact that we now have, just before the elections, this whole the sort of breakdown by state of how many registered voters there are, how many PVCs were collected, and then the uncollected one. So it gives us, it becomes a lot more, shall we say, transparent, because people can now follow it. That couldn't have been, that wasn't done in our first approach.
Yes, of course.
So that shows that indeed there were some challenges.
Yes,
they needed more time.
And it appears that the postponement happens to be a blessing in disguise. Because if you look at all these figures and data that we have, in the public domain now, it really helps the stakeholders, including voters, political parties, election observers, and other interested parties, to know that to know the figures we are working with. For instance now, Lagos State, for instance, with the highest number of registered voters, and you have the highest number of uncollected PVC. You know,
That
what's
was
an
uncanny.
irony?
One wouldn't have known that if not for this breakdown.
If not for the over 1 point something million voters did not pick up their voters cards here in Lagos, ditto for Kano and some other few states, like that. And again, and I want to think that the daily briefing by the INEC chairman really helped a lot in galvanizing the people towards that election. If you recall, I think yesterday during one of his briefings, he said that they have already deployed materials in about 19 states already as at yesterday. By today, that a few other states that materials will get there, and specifically for Bayelsa, according to the INEC chairman, that the materials will move from the state's INEC office, to the, I think they have about 8 local governments in Bayelsa, and not so. To me, if you look at, in terms of logistical, preparations, if you look at, the preparedness of the personnel, both the hard work, both the civil society organizations, both the media, and both the observer, both local and international, I think we are good to go as far as this election is concerned. And I think we need to even commend the government. The government has really stretched backward, in accommodating all these stakeholders and see a way of, compensating for the loss, the losses they recorded in the last postponed election. For instance, the visa, the extension of visas to foreign observers, and some other things like that. I think it's really okay, and Nigerians are fully ready.
Indeed,
they are fully ready. I don't see any serious apathy.
Which was one of the apprehensions before, exactly, Alexander, that this might just make some people apathetic. But the way we're looking at it now, it seems like everybody is raring to go, right?
Well, the thing is, while we're praising INEC and then giving it all the support it needs, tomorrow is actually DD. Tomorrow will be the decider to actually tell if indeed some of the words said can be matched with actions. Because I know that one of the biggest challenges that INEC will still encounter logistically is still the issue of getting these to all the various local governments. For instance, you just mentioned Bayelsa. Most of the local governments are not accessible by land. And so the fact that you have to travel several kilometers on boats, to get to these various places.
In certain
In fact,
states.
there are places within River State that you have to travel over an hour plus or 2 hours by boats, to be able to get these materials. So, but assuming we had, a good relationship, I don't know the plannings within INEC and the various agencies of governments. Since we're collaborating well with CBN, I don't think there's anything that stops us from INEC collaborating with the Navy and the Air Force, who have access to helicopters and the rest of them, which could have eased the movement of these materials and then the ad hoc staffs, so that they'll be able to get to these places on time and be able to attend to people, because that is one of the challenges that I foresee INEC may be facing tomorrow.
Additionally, INEC spoke about liaising with FRC, Federal Road Safety Corps, and they had spoken up and said, no, we're going to give everything we've got, whatever INEC needs, they can count on us.
But what's the limitation of FRC? They're only just to protect and ensure that there's already freelance on the road. You get?
Well, I didn't understand about transportation.
I'm not aware if FRC has issue or has a logistics in terms of moving this various to the various local governments or units for them. This is some of the things that I expected that should have been taken care of over the week. Because the fact that, for instance, in Yobe, Sokoto and a few other states in the north are so large, to access each local government, in certain local governments, you actually have to travel several hours. And the distances are so much.
But INEC knows that it really doesn't have a choice but to get it
right. I pray they get it right this time.
And,
must get it right.
And definitely, what INEC chairman said earlier, during the course of the week, he said only the heart of God can indeed stop this election. I don't think they want to fall into the same dish twice. They have already made the apologize for the postponement, and I don't want to believe that there will be some things untoward or some infractions or lack of preparation on their own side, that will make Nigerians to actually lose that confidence in them. And again, I think we need to commend them, especially with the way they safeguarded the sensitive materials. All the sensitive material were warehoused, in the with CB at the CBN offices nationwide, and you have all the stakeholders, all the major political parties agents were there. I think since Saturday, probably till tomorrow when the materials will be retrieved from the CBN, for onward deployment on the field and all that. So in terms of that preparation, the malls have definitely settled all that. And you talking about the riverine areas and all those things, they will set out very early this time around. Because for instance, most of the things they couldn't address, last week, most of them have been addressed. For instance, all this data we have, we didn't have all this about a week ago. We have all this ditto for so many other things, that we, that is coming to the open. And again, the inclusion of the visually impaired people. They now have the braille, the gadgets that, if...
Well, they had braille before.
They actually had that.
They actually had that before. But there was a commentary from the very first address on that Saturday. Was it? Yeah.
Even for those who have lepers, who their fingers have been chopped off, there are provisions to
people living with disabilities or special needs that had not been accounted for, even as it was acknowledged that braille was there, so it didn't really include the visually challenged. But apparently the point was made that, look, there's so many other ones.
There's so many loopholes too we need to also look at on the part of this election now. One of the things that Professor Mahmood actually raised up, which, all centered up on logistics. And he knows that logistics entails a whole lot. It's not just the movement of the materials. We're looking at the deployment of the ad hoc staffs, and the transportation network. I do not know the arrangement they have on ground, but this is one of the challenges they are likely to have again.
Yeah, but the transportation network is, I just recall that FRSC has pledged, but you said that, look, that's on land probably, because transportation, but so it looks like...
when they pick up the materials, the materials are meant to be escorted to the various polling units. And then each of these polling units are not, within the sight of just an eye that you expect that you just move the boxes and then deploy them.
Yes.
What is the plan in terms of moving out very early? He just mentioned about moving.
That they're very likely to start.
For instance,
very
I just
early.
mentioned some places where you may need about 3 to 4 hours to get to. How do you intend to deploy materials within those areas?
Well,
I think the thing is that INEC, or for us, for instance, there's a lot of issues that borders on trust.
Yes.
Because in the first instances, I do not think that housing of these materials in the CBN, is going to do INEC so much good. In the sense that you already have INEC offices in each of the local governments.
You're talking about logistics now.
Yeah, because by the time you're going to, for instance, now, some of these central bank offices are located in the state capitals.
All right.
And if you have to move to go and get these materials, do not forget, like I said, all the party agents and all the representatives of the parties will all have to be there to ensure that these materials were released rightfully, and then that everything that was put in there initially was actually what it is. That's another time being consumed from the expected time of deployment. Now, when you're looking at all these lapses, it culminates to failures of materials getting on time to the various venues. Because for any time lost, cannot be regained within the set out time for
but there's no way we can compromise, the integrity and how will I put it now? The perceived uprightness of the umpire not to be biased, or not to have tampered with the electoral material. We can't sacrifice that.
They produce the
for
materials.
I'm coming. For instance, you said they should lodge those materials, those sensitive materials.
That they might have,
with
because it's just looking at ways to
yes,
further
of course, because
ease the.
Because you still have the same party agents in each of the local governments.
No. If you recall, I think there were about 4 INEC offices that were burnt mysteriously. So you can't have those sensitive material, and the way the way our politicians take elections in this part of the world is just like a war. So
I think
it
I
is
agree
not
with-
the kind
I
of
understand
security.
Because the same CBN is guided by the security agencies.
But you don't
if
have
the
the
security
kind of a
agencies are
spread.
deployed to guide the INEC offices, we shouldn't have a situation where we're being told that a drunk INEC security burnt an office in Plateau State. So I don't know how he adds up.
Well,
If in the course
Alex,
of him drinking, he takes up and lights up the building.
I understand what you're saying, Alex, but you probably also will concede that this is one of those cases where Caesar's wife just doesn't have to just be, how do they say it, clean. She has to be seen to be clean.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
So,
this is a
I
set
paraphrase that. It's not actually clean, but you get the meaning.
Yes, I know.
So it doesn't matter what INEC knows. There's this other aspect of proving to anybody that we've done the utmost in terms of the most secure lock possible. INEC office is one thing, and I understand the ease of the logistics, that it might ease it slightly more, but going top-notch security. So there's no more secure place than CBN vaults, and I imagine there's something of a PR aspect to that where else would they have gone in terms of security? I understand that from logistics.
Do not forget that we write the
And don't
common
forget that
exams like
INEC complained that this was one of the INEC complained at the time that was one of the problems that they had. They even, if you remember, I don't know that the prof himself said it, or maybe he did, that politicians themselves have been part of their problem.
Of course.
Politicians themselves.
That's because of the way the society has been positioned.
Thank you.
Assuming the laws are upright, the security agencies and the various institutions of governance are upright.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have individuals coming up to do things and get away with it.
Okay.
So apparently, if INEC is saying that his hand is tied up, and then the fact that it is the electoral umpire who has actually produced the same materials that is being issued for election, the fact that you're taking it to a third party to house it, I don't think actually makes it all the easier for you. Because in truth, you're still going to deploy the same materials, and we're probably going to still have some stories out there that may come out in terms of being compromised.
Okay.
But my concern is logistically, making sure that these materials get to the polling units on time.
Is a priority.
So that the electoral officers are there before the people start coming.
Okay.
Do not forget that even though now the whole system has been adjusted to accreditation and votes, but it is said that once it is 2 p.m., the policeman queues up and shows that you cannot come in again to enter the queue. So what it simply means that if you do not get to the polling units on time, people would not be able to meet up, because a lot of people may leave out of frustration if they wait and do not get to be attended on time. And then even if at all these individuals do come and they have to wait for the electoral officers, and when they come, they still have to take some time to be able to set up themselves, set up their machines and equipment and the rest of them. And then if for any reasons we have issues or malfunctions, what do we do? We know there are provisions to that extent that ameliorates the problem a bit, but it would not solve this problem, because that's one of the things that if you said INEC may be countering with tomorrow.
I would imagine, I'm not a spokesman for INEC, but I would imagine that they also have logistics experts within and are interrogating the situation very much along the lines that you are doing. As I said, not being a spokesman there, that these are things that they just jump out at you. You know it. You're not in INEC, but you're a Nigerian, and so are they. And they know that they are under pressure because of what has happened. So they can't afford to have experts come out and say that, you know what, we're surprised. We're surprised that this wasn't handled. This wasn't done.
So see, what happened
Some
is
from
that
the outside.
What
happened is that we are
part
not
of the project
expecting.
manager aspects. Because this is not being managed in the way manner of a project that is intended to succeed is being managed. And that's why INEC actually came out with those, excuses it came out with, which even the president himself was not happy with it.
Indeed. And
You
since
understand?
then, corrections
and all the
have
party
been made.
members have
Unless
actually
you-
expressed their sadness towards the same thing. Because it just shows the fact that
unless you don't have unless you don't agree that INEC does indeed have the capacity to correct itself.
And which
tomorrow
we
will
have seen.
tomorrow will tell if indeed INEC actually has proven us wrong.
Okay.
But
Yes.
we are waiting to see that INEC, and I'm praying that INEC actually gets this right, because we really need to get this right.
It's like people are optimistic that indeed will be
For
the
the sake
case.
of our own
But
country movement.
anyway,
moving forward.
I don't want us to actually wish for the worst.
No,
You know,
exactly.
as
But
far
you see,
this-
as
but-
analysts,
yes, of course,
he's looking out for trouble
you see,
spots.
Yes,
Visibly,
and
yes.
that is
It's not
exactly
something-
what.
it's not
and
rocket
that's-
science.
And
But
that is
I also-
exactly
it's
what.
not rocket science.
And
But
that is exactly
you will
what.
also that's why I said maybe you might concede that
No, so we-
INEC also has its own professional experts.
Of course, and
we do agree.
we shouldn't look at INEC as a body that is so incompetent that you couldn't, manage.
Even the
what-
president
what-
has said that, look, INEC should be cut some slack.
Yes,
Give
of
them a
course.
chance.
And-
We've all vented our frustration, in some cases our anger, but at the end of the day,
No.
But
It's not
going
enough
forward-
to say, that we should actually, back out. Because the truth of the matter is that INEC was giving all it demanded of.
yeah,
The buck stops of Mahmoud's table to ensure the success of this.
which he accepted.
And on failure, you not just only fire yourself, you are indebted to Nigerians. The fact that Nigerians are now coming out to talk about their losses is the need now to arise for us to, gather signatures to sue INEC together. Because indeed, INEC should be able to reimburse people for the various losses that they encountered in their businesses.
Well,
Because ordinarily, it was
on that
preventable.
particular road
It
you're
was
at,
preventable.
maybe let us just say on the route that you are at right now, INEC has, the chairman has said, forget about resignation. I'm not even thinking about it. You didn't mention the word, but,
well,
but
of course.
The fact
You know,
that he didn't put himself there, he's
Well-
accountable to the Nigerian government, to the Nigerian people.
Yeah.
And these are taxpayers' funds. And the fact that it is not well utilized for any losses, in fact, the president actually said, helped us out by saying, at the end of this election, there will be, an inquiry to be able to seek out and
Indeed.
ask questions of what really happened.
Indeed.
But I'm praying that this thing doesn't just end up with the usual set of inquiry, and then at the end of it all, nobody answers to anybody. Then it goes with the same ghost of nobody's at fault. It all happened because the devil was actually at work. Then, for it now to for us to get it right, it has to be by the grace of God. It has to happen with us putting the best foot forward.
indeed.
And ensuring that we're putting the right personnel in there.
And I hope-
we cannot
I
continue
just
to
hope-
condone
I just-
wastages and losses.
Indeed. Can't fault anything that you've just said. But I would wager that most people, thinking about this expression about giving people a chance, even the president has said, and a lot of society is saying that, no, don't wreck INEC in the minds of the people. It's an organization, it has its challenges. But what you've done, what you are doing, as the expert that you are, is you're pointing out to us weak spots. And I would wager that INEC also is aware of these and does not want experts to come and be able to fault them. So it's like one is hoping for the best from INEC. And I think that's the way a lot of people see it. Otherwise, it's a fool's errand that we're going on.
I don't want us to hope. I want us to expect, because the fact that we've actually given INEC Mahmoud this mandate.
Yes.
On reception of the brief, when he assumed office, this is the same individual that has come to give Nigerians a chart plan of about 36 years, of execution of elections in Nigeria. And we gladly clapped for him, applauded all that wishes. I was in a program recently in January organized by the traditional rulers, the first-class monarchs of the entire nation. And I must commend them and give them that. They are making tremendous efforts towards putting peace in this dear nation. And it is highly commendable. While at that program, Professor Mahmoud came out and railed at all his plans and his executions. And of course, we've heard him speak on several occasions. And then we see that confidence in him. I was expecting part of the project's briefs, which are the guides given to as a man who has received that mantle of leadership to ensure that he delivers this election. Let's even get this right. And in his words, he said, this is going to be about the best election ever conducted in Nigeria. And I, for one, said, I am proud of the fact that he has made this powerful speech. But what I'm waiting for is to see him live up to it.
Okay, and that is where
And
I
that's
think...
where he now failed to deliver by letting us know on time that these things were not deliverable. And some of the statements he made on Saturday were indeed, sometimes you ask if these individuals actually get to listen to themselves.
Okay,
if you
but that was last week. Now,
yeah, that's last
since
week.
then,
Okay.
a lot of water has gone under the bridge.
I agree with you.
And
Agree.
that is exactly
of water
what we
has
should
gone under the
focus
bridge.
on.
And that, I think, but it's also important what you have explained and pointed out to us, because these are technical aspects. So it's also, but a lot of water has gone under the bridge, and most Nigerians, I would wager, think that, well, INEC is now better prepared than it was last week, and so there's optimism that we are going to be able to, cut it this time around.
Yes, of course.
That's the attitude.
And we got that assurances throughout the week. The daily briefings we are getting of, the
Yes.
step to step,
Yes.
Activities of the INEC to make
but
tomorrow's
what I like about
election.
Alex's submissions is
All
that right next to what you are saying, which I
Okay.
think is where most people are, Alex is also pointing out that
Well,
these, in case anybody wants to be monitoring, these are the weak spots that were known last week.
Yes.
And so you can, actually you now have a roadmap of
He
what to be able to
admitted
look at.
and
Now, so I understand that. I understand
he
that.
made one
And now
addition that is very
if you look at
concrete
it
to
now,
this. When he said that what the IT advised him that to reconfigure the machine would take about 5 to 6 days. Even though we started hearing the magical, achievements between Saturday and Tuesday, we had about 98% completion. And I said, it means your IT teams are faulty. If your IT teams could not get across to you as the leader at the top to inform you by Wednesday, as Adams Oshomole, the APC party chairman, had asked him out, if you could not get these details as the leader, it means there's a failure in either in your communication or in your management style.
I get the impression, and I'll say this perhaps slightly jocularly, I get the impression that you're not exactly a fan of INEC.
No.
I just must say, because failure is
you're
not a fan of INEC because
in
you're not cutting them any slack at all. Bearing in mind what has happened and the immense work that has since gone in to persuade all and sundry that
has been
this is different.
In this same project. And there's so much focus on this. Look at the amount of EU observers, the AU and the international and local observers all here in Nigeria, all for these same projects.
Okay, one moment please. Joshua wants to join us from, I think, Nasarawa. Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning, Uncle Yuri.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for calling in. Go ahead with your comment, please.
I acknowledge your guest speakers on the house today.
Thank you.
At least the topic of the day is very important.
It is.
And what we are wishing as Nigerians, we are wishing for the credible and best election so far coming up tomorrow. By the INEC chairman, what he spoke before the election began tomorrow, at least he give up hopes more. Because what they have not been done last week, it makes us to know that, yes, there are many hold-ups and slack in the election last week. That's why it cannot hold. But this week, as we are seeing, we believe that Nigeria are going to go out massively and vote for whosoever that they want him to emerge as the breadwinner of Nigeria come 2019 election.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Yes,
much for that contribution. So, Annie,
yes, of course. I want to align with the caller. So what we have seen so far, in terms of the logistical preparations, in terms of the challenges we had last week, which we believe the must have addressed by now. So we should be hopeful that come tomorrow everything will be more better. It won't be perfect. We must take that away from here, because there is no situation, there is no
We want to get as close as possible to
yes, of
perfection.
course. Yeah,
as
but
close as humanly possible.
But we are not expecting. We are not
No.
expecting an 100%
No, I
kind
didn't
of
say that.
history.
But
so
we don't want to be in the 65% area.
yes,
That's what I'm saying.
That is exactly not good.
That is the past, but we don't want to be there. We want better than that. I'm sorry, I'm going to come straight back to you, but I've got to rush off on a break right now. Okay. And please stay with us. When we come back, we'll include your calls as well. Welcome back. It's election day tomorrow, and but from all indications, we're good to go. We're ready to go. We have Alexander Orji, project and logistics management expert, as well as public affairs analysts in the studio, alongside Eniton Olukotun. Eni is a journalist and public affairs analyst. And so we spend the first half of the program looking at the weak spots, and hopefully, those are being worked on. We've been having daily briefs. So we know a lot of work and a lot of water has passed under the bridge since the first failed attempt. Well, never mind. What did I say first? Since that attempt, because there's not going to be a second attempt. We are going to get it right. We can't afford not to get it right, and I don't think anybody actually wants us not to get it right if a loyal citizen of this country. But let's look at the players. The contestants on the field. It's been said that they constitute a major part of the challenge anybody who is going to be organizing an election has in Nigeria. And I don't know if this is a function of it being Nigerian contestants, or this is the way it is with politicians up and down the land. Even in other climes, I don't know. Our politicians, they have signed all sorts of memoranda of understanding that, look, they will play fair, they will keep their supporters in check and all of that. Even up to yesterday, people were still being told, who are contestants, that, look, it's one thing for you to be here, but you've got to make sure that your supporters, you are not inciting them, and you're not... what do you think on the political scene? Okay, Mazi Okorafor has called in from Arochukwu. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Yeah, good morning, Mazi.
This is our guest. My own is an appeal to all Nigerians. Go out and vote. If on your way to the polling booth, you see any security man, just say, Monster. That is a simple greeting. Just go your way. This is so hard and no shaking. Now, my own action, I just stepped into the traffic. Our they should try as much as possible and obey traffic rules and regulations. Because sometimes you see our drivers in a hurry to meet up the destination. The type of speed and the type of overtaking they take is not healthy for us. Because people will travel, go out safely, and come back safely, not reckless. Addition of our youth, I'm just appealing to all of them, please. Don't be that's an object or an element of mass destruction tomorrow, because this is our country. Nigeria is our country. We have no other place to go, and we cannot destroy it. Please, the youth, please, I'm just begging you. Thank you very much, Mr. Oga Yoria, and our guests in the studio. Have a present.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, Uncle Yori, back to you. The problem we have essentially has to do with the kind of political class we have in this country, and no thanks to the way we see politics in this line. So if you have failed in everything, I think the best, the next, industry or venture you could think of to have a major breakthrough is politics, and
or religion.
Well, so it's politics. So because the kind of money, the kind of rewards the kind of benefit they get from holding political offices and, or having a political appointment is so huge that you can kill just to, just to keep it. So
that this is possible, I think is the point Alex was making, that the institutions that we have
yes,
encourage all of this.
Of course, that's why we must try. We must try as much as we could as much as we could to reduce these incentives that the political class get. For instance, if anybody is going to the National Assembly and is getting close to 15 million naira, per month, and for doing nothing, if you don't show up at the shape, no, that's the fact. If you don't show up, there's no query.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and people will do almost
all
whatever.
Things. No, you get there, you get free cars, you get free food, you get free house.
So that's what people are looking at.
Exactly, and the way we use power in this part of the world is not usually used for service.
Okay, well,
it's used for self.
Okay, Philip in Ilorin, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yes, sir. I want to comment on the recruitment process of INEC adult staff.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, the level of credibility in INEC is nothing to write home about. And a body, an electoral body that cannot transparently conduct its ad hoc recruitment, I wonder how they are going to be able to manage to conduct a free and fair election. During the recruitment, I was shortlisted because of an aptitude to the training. I did it. Can you imagine that after the training, it is those that didn't even write the test that their name came out? I was just wondering, what is the criteria they used to appoint these things? And one of those people that got called up for this told me that it was the same politicians that have stake in this particular election that were busy writing names for them to dictate to them who they are going to appoint. So the level of credibility, for me, as far as I'm concerned, is very, very low. And the level of transparency is not there.
Philip, okay, thank you very much for calling and indeed for raising this point. However, you'll understand that what you've just said cannot be independently verified. That, one, first of all, concedes to you because you were there, but one can't hear from INEC. I would have loved to ask somebody on that side what kind of response he has to that. But thank you all the same for calling in, because he's now brought up another matter that...
it actually points to the weakness of the institution that we alluded to earlier on.
Which is where Alex
because if you have a very strong, viral, independent institution, your recruitment process, because the personnel you are going to use, they are your representatives on the field. So you can't just bring in all manner of people, all manner of character that allegedly, according to the caller, have their own political interests, in the whole thing. So these are weighty allegations that I think the INEC itself should really investigate. This was not the first time I will be hearing this. I heard this, in the course of the week, but for this caller to have called again, I think, and he claimed, according to him, that he was actually affected.
He wanted to be. But he is saying that he went through the whole process according to him. It's just that stories like this, one has to be very, very careful because you can't independently verify them.
No, but a lot of people are alluding to that.
Let it be said, in fairness to Philip, that we're talking about INEC now, but it's in our life generally. It's in our life generally, unfortunately.
It's perceived to be in our life that it can continue to go on. No, it shouldn't. It's a signal to us that there's so much that needs to be addressed. If we can continue to have people come on stage to campaign and point hands and say this individual is corrupt, and then the agencies that are meant to go after these individuals are just there pampering and clapping, and then you ask yourself, what then is the whole agency all about?
Yeah, but you can't expect INEC to overnight change the structure of our society.
No. INEC
is part of society. This is the problem.
I know that INEC has its own weaknesses.
INEC has to work in troubled waters. The waters are not going to become less choppy because INEC has a job to do.
And in all fairness to INEC has greatly improved, in terms of ensuring voters' privacy, and the secrecy of the ballots. they improved at, on that greatly during the Osun election, because I was there. I witnessed it.
Okay.
For instance, and that's exactly what we want. We want the reenactment of what happened, during that, in terms of, giving voters their own privacy while voting. Because through that, you can curb the menace of vote buying, or inducements, or outright inducements.
Okay.
Of voters.
I don't want to lose Dan. Dan is in the Laro. Please continue. I understand I lost Dan.
Within the voting arena. So these are all the initiatives that this electoral umpire is bringing on board. But the kind of political class we have, they are. I don't know how we want to describe them. If you come with a particular measure, they will definitely have a way of circumventing your process, your procedure. If you recall, INEC banned open purchase of votes within voting arena. These unscrupulous elements, they have to.
The way you just said that, when you said INEC banned open purchase of votes, I'm sure you didn't mean to suggest that. If you do it privately, it's another matter, but you can't do it. That's not what you meant. That's not what you meant.
What happened is that
I'm just saying. It's just that following the construction, the way it came out, I wanted to be sure, and I'm almost sure.
If you look at it, if you look at EFCC is now trailing transfer of monies and all that. So these guys have gone digital. Now they know that you can probably purchase or induce voter within the voting arena, so they have to transfer monies into their accounts, and you heard the way some of them were lamenting the other day because they have already paid.
Allegations
yes, of course.
Yet be independently verified. And don't forget that there are those who want to vilify INEC.
Tantrums throughout the election period.
People are
everybody wants to be heard louder.
Yeah. Sorry. Muiwa in Niger State. Good morning.
Good morning, Fiori.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
And I greet your guest in the studio.
Good morning.
Yes, I just want to make some little contribution. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I believe you should commend the INEC for what they have done. Because for professor to come out and apologize, and also to make the itinerary of what he was going to do for the week, I think we should commend INEC for that. And we are hopeful that this Saturday we are going to have a peaceful, credible election. Then more so, I want to urge our politicians, because I think that is the apex of our problem in the democratic room in this country. They normally go around, to use the youth to have minimums in every polling unit. So I want to use this opportunity to urge the youth that these two politicians have children, and their children are hiding in places. I mean, they're not even in this country. So I want to urge the youth that they should not allow any politician to use them for any means at all. Because this is our own country. There's no way we want to run to. So as youth, I want to encourage everyone to come out and vote massively for this election. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in, Muiwa. It's a lovely sentiment he puts out, but hopefully this has really been settled in the mind before, because no matter
it's
how
a
much
common saying.
Yes.
But the reason why it will continue to be said and nothing is done is because we're coming back again to the same word, the institution. The reasons why
our national institutions, right?
Yes.
And the way
okay, I'll be specific. Our police that are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that these individuals do not get away with it do not have, have not shown that strength of really taking the bull by the horn. I'll give you this. INEC, by law, is mandated to prosecute electoral offenders. But all through the while we have seen elections being conducted in these countries, we see even some captured in video clips, verifiable video clips, and yet these individuals still walk free. In fact, in most cases, they are promoted. They are given additional, helm of protection and, financed and tushed up so that they become more recognized and even have the same police that are meant to prosecute them as their bodyguards. So in other words, we're now trying to recognize illegality and making it legal. Now another thing again.
Yeah. But sorry, I got to bring in Comrade Ayo in Oshogbo. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yogi.
Thank you for calling, sir.
And good morning to our guests in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Uncle Yogi, first and foremost, I want to commend INEC. They've really done a very good job. The level of preparation is bad, unlike what is obtainable last week. Now, Uncle Yogi, you see, the problem we have is we are not all committed to a free, fair, and credible election. If the INEC chairman is committed, how can we share the reps and other members of the staff of INEC? If you are committed, you say that to me that I am committed to, or just watching us at home. The politician. Hello, sir.
Yes, we can still hear you.
You know you cannot win election in an area you're not popular. But you want to get there through illegal means. Why? For greediness, because you know when you get there, your family and yourself will be.
Okay, what we got your drift.
Yeah.
And
Of
it's
course,
what we were talking about.
Comrade actually nailed it. That was exactly what I was.
This is what point you were making.
Saying earlier on. No, the kind of
because people
the
can
kind
display
of
these
benefits, the kind of benefits you get, when you get into political offices.
They're almost unholy.
In fact, it's just too
Almost.
mouth-watering. It is irresistible.
Most times, there's something we're getting wrong.
And it costs a pretty
and
it costs a pretty penny
Of
to
course.
succeed.
Exactly.
That's because
because if you look at it very
institution
well,
itself-
Okay, I'm coming to you now.
so
Let me
because
just land. I'm coming to
if you look at it very well, there is no institution, there is no corporate organization you go to work or you are working that you don't perform or deliver and you will expect to get your pay at the end of the month. But this guy, you can decide to be.
Well, you're talking about politicians once
a
in office.
politician, yes, of course. But once
Yeah,
you are in
it's-
the National Assembly, you can even decide not to show up for 1 month. Nobody will issue you any query.
So what you're talking about is because of the juiciness, quote unquote,
Exactly.
of the offices,
So
people are
ready to kill and
so-
to maim just to get in. And they are
di-
ready.
discipline is out the window.
Yeah, and they are ready to compromise the system. So no matter how strong, how viral your system is, because they want to get in at all cost, they will do everything to compromise, to induce voters. They see it as a very lucrative investment.
Of course. Oh, yeah.
You understand?
Which is part of the imperfection that we're dealing with. That's what
Yes.
I said earlier, Alex, that, look, INEC still has to work in these choppy waters. We would have loved for INEC to have calm seas, like any ship captain wants. But
And
when
INEC
it's
is gonna
choppy,
learn-
he still has to do the best job that he can do.
INEC is going to learn a lot of lessons from this election. Because the thing is that in as much as INEC may be thinking that it's so easy with the plannings they have
No,
on
I
ground.
don't think INEC has said it's easy.
No, at the moment now,
Who says so?
people are giving them the remarks that it's actually, perfection. Near
Well,
perfection.
yeah,
But the
because
thing is,
people
the-
believe
the
that
aftermath of
we can do
tomorrow-
a good job
Yeah,
once we set our
I'm-
minds to it.
I'm hopeful
Yes.
that they'll do a good job tomorrow because
Yes.
tomorrow will determine the confidence that people will be encouraged to come out for the governorship and state house of assembly elections.
And INEC must be
And-
very much aware of
because
that.
again, it still has about 2 to 3 weeks interval to prepare for that. And again, one thing we should also look at is let's even look at things that are practical in terms of delivery. For instance, now the visit of the president to Lagos brought in so much comments about the issues of the trucks and the rest of them. I know this is not related to this topic, but I just want to make a comment. We have the number one citizen of this same state who passes that same road on a daily basis and hears the complaints and sees the immediate danger of having several tons of trucks on bridges and waiting for it.
But then the president came and they all disappeared.
And they all disappeared. And nobody asked,
Where? What happened?
Apart from what happened, before the president coming, we had actually made recommendations to the number one citizens to ensure that these things were actually well taken care of.
Okay.
But you have a situation where people don't care.
So this is an example.
Until when there's a calamity.
Yeah.
Just as we had the fuel tanker, and then you started having all kinds of committees being set up, and then interventions being set up.
I've been keeping
We shouldn't wait for
Garuba
damages to
waiting.
occur first.
Garba in Makurdi Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
I've been trying to get these people, but I couldn't. But today, God help me.
We're delighted. Please go ahead with your comment.
You see, Uncle Yori, we have to commend the INEC. They have tried, and God will bless them, and God will crown their efforts. And I align my thoughts with comrades. If the INEC chairman is committed to free and fair elections, what of the other staff? And aside from that, the political parties, I'm telling you, any political party that loses this election, he will come out on the air and say the INEC were compromised. That's how we are in Nigeria. We will not accept it. In good faith, we will not see the effort of the INEC. That's the fact.
Yeah, but the contestants, Garba, the contestants have pledged to accept the results of the election once.
And that's what they will say. That's what they will claim to say. But after the election, I'm telling you this thing. I'm optimistic of that. I know Nigeria. I'm in Nigeria. We are Nigerians.
Okay. Garba, are you still there?
I'm still there.
Okay.
I'm still there.
Okay. So
you see, I am praying to see a society, a country, that the political party, if I lose election, I will accept it in a good faith, irrespective of whatever happens, whether they rig it or not.
Okay. But let's not prejudge the situation. I would counsel Garba. No. You are saying that
saying based on the experience.
You are already accepting that there will be disagreement.
Yes.
Yet these people have said there will be no disagreement.
Yes, I pray so. Okay, give me 1 minute. Let me say something, please. Let me say something. Okay, we're in this society. Now, look at what is happening now. They forget the issue-based campaign. They are attacking each other. How they get it? That way you know that this one will say INEC are biased, this one will say INEC are biased, this one INEC are biased are social and favor of social political party, this one will say INEC is a social political party. It's not good in our democracy. But I'm praying we should see free and fair and credible and acceptable elections. Have a nice day in Lagos. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Garba, for calling in.
No, but he raised the point of average-minded Nigerian. We must move away from that average mindset of a Nigerian. We must begin to look at things rightfully. The institutions, which are the police and the various forces, which the president has given a marching order to ensure that there is no compromise in this election. I want us to look at that area, irrespective of other words that were used, which I don't want to go into at the moment. If you have been given this task before you to ensure you deliver, that there is no compromise, and each of the political candidates has actually signed these undertakings, even though the undertakings does not have any legal implications in terms of if you default it, these are the likely issues you will encounter. But assuming now that the whole deliveries in terms of security and protection of votes is not in the hands of the politicians, why wouldn't any politician accept the results? Okay. And even if any politician does not accept the results, what is the legal way? It's to approach the courts.
Okay. Let me just squeeze in our last caller. Yakub, good morning. Calling in from Dokbemu.
Yeah, good morning, teachers.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
And then good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Come tomorrow, I don't have doubt in my mind that this election is going to be free, fair, and credible. But the only issue is this. If there's going to be any ECOF in polling unit, it will be all those politicians that he knows that this area are not strong. What they normally do is this. The area they know that they are not too strong, they will make sure they mobilize unemployment youth.
Yakub, I don't want to cut you, but can you just put it into 5 seconds? We got to go.
Quickly. So they will make sure that they mobilize youth to go and disrupt election in that area so that they can be able to mix it up in where they think that they are strong. That is where the message that Mr. President passed through to the youth. Don't be used
to be snatched ballot paper. Go
Thank you
there,
very
vote,
much. We're
and
going to
then-
leave it there. We appreciate it. It's a fine place to leave it. And thank you very much, Yakub from Dokwemu, for calling in. We completely ran out of time, but thank you very much, Alexander Oji, project and logistics management expert. And a bit hard on INEC, but it was in pointing out the weak spots. And thank you, any Olukotu journalist and public affairs analyst. That's our program. Go out and vote tomorrow. Free, fair, peaceful elections, God willing.